Hi guys, welcome to my latest tutorial. It's a wallpaper stroke thumbnail tutorial. Okay, something you can use on YouTube for your thumbnails or for your wallpaper on your computer. And it's quite a simple design. Okay, we've got a couple of images. We've got grass, the stadium. Okay, we've got a blue sky in the background, and we've got these three players with some shading and highlight techniques. And then we've also got the text as well. I couldn't quite decide if I liked the text or not, so I just left it on there because I do kind of like it. So without further ado, we'll get straight into it because this one's going to be a long tutorial, but I'll also include some written text down below in the description. Another top tip as well, as you're following along this tutorial, if it's going a little bit too fast, you can press K on your keyboard to pause while you're watching on YouTube. Press J, rewinds it back 10-15 seconds, and L sends it forward. It's a good little technique for following tutorials. So anyway, digress. I'll new document, so I'm going to press Command N. Okay, and I'm going with 1280 by 720 and landscape orientation. With resolution and pixels, okay, you can just choose an image that's for your computer screen or your phone, how long you're going with it. So I'm just going to drop this image of the sea in there. Okay, so all these images that I use I'll link in the description below. So we've got our image of the sea, and I'm going to create a new layer, and just while I do that I'm going to delete this background layer. Okay, and I'm going to go over to my paint palette tool, click that. Okay, and the colour I'm using 90A6BC, 90A6BC, and I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit the B for the brush tool. Okay, that's about right size. I'm going to got flow of around 51%, 50%. Okay, and I'm just going to paint on some dark blue at the top, just there, and just a little bit there. Okay, this is just for our sky. Okay, this image is really not really that important, but it's mainly just rather than having a simple white background. And I'm going to have the opacity for this blue layer. Just call it blue sky, 75%. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to drop the Camp Nou picture in. If you don't follow football, this is where Barcelona play, and I'm just going to readjust it. I want it a little bit bigger than that. Shift and Alt, it grows in proportion, and that looks about okay. Let's rename that Camp Nou. Okay, and the next image I'm going to drop on is this football stadium. I'm just going to try and position this grass now. So kind of want it down the bottom. So what I'm going to do, I'll just call this one grass. Okay, I'm going to hit the layer mask down the bottom. So I'm going to be working non-destructively. Okay, bring the size quite large to begin with. Okay, and keep this flow quite high up. I'm just going to paint away. I'm just going to make it smaller, and I'll tidy it up in a second. So this red board down here, this is what I'm going to be keeping in. So make sure it's on black as well. And if you hold shift and drag across, okay, it'll keep it in a straight line. Just going to paint, and then if you hit X, you swap these colours over for white. So then you're going to be painting back onto this area. Okay, so like that, press Command Z. Okay, and I'm just going to hold down around here. I'm just going to paint on that board. Now, I highly recommend you take your time when you're doing this. I'm rushing just for the purposes of the tutorial. So we've got a little bit of concrete showing here from Camp Nou. Just tidies it up a little bit. It's not going to be a feature that people are going to notice quite a lot anyway, but every little thing counts, doesn't it? Said. One last play there. Yep, okay, so that's a little bit better. I'm happy with that. So we've got our grass, we blended that in quite well. So if we, and just to double check, we can hold Alt down and then we can click this little window here. Okay, and you can see any areas that I've missed. So I'm just going to increase the size and it just helps it blend in better. Yep, and then hold Alt and click that and it disappears again. So now we've blended in our grass. So as you can see, we're working quite well. So I'm going to click on Camp New, and with this I'm going to go back down to the layer mask. Okay, make sure this little window is highlighted here, and I'm going to drop the flow down 20-25%. Okay, and I'm just going to paint away this sky, and I might even drop it down here some more. Let's see how it looks on the other one. Press X and just fade it back in a little bit. That's looking okay. So again, we can always test and adjust and play around with it a lot more. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to throw in some smoke. So I'm going to do a new layer. Just a small amount, so I'm going to hit B. So I've got a brush tool here. Okay, you've got your brush palettes. If you can't see them, click on Window at the top, and you see your brush and brush presets. Okay, and so these two here. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Just double click. So I've been using it recently. There it is. Okay, and I'll also include a link to this brush. This brush I got from Feeler. It's a real popular YouTube channel. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a really good brush. So make sure you got white on the blend there, and you want the flow about 15%. Okay, and I'm just going to paint a little bit of mist on there. Maybe not that big down here. Might be a little bit too much, but okay, so it looks quite misty and smoky. I think I've got a little bit too much on there than what I had. Yeah, so I'm just going to drop this opacity down. Yes, about 70%. Okay, just give it a bit more of a blend. Okay, create a smart object so it can be edited. Okay, I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Okay, around about 3 pixels. Okay, if you just look at that smoke, I don't think you can see it carefully, but it blends it ever so slightly. Go up to 3.5, so it gives it more of a natural feel. So there's our background. Our background is sorted. So I'm going to click this top layer, click this bottom layer while I'm holding Shift, so they're all highlighted. Command G, I'm going to group them and call that background. Now we'll be coming back to this layer later on just to add some light, but for now, that is our background complete. Brilliant. Okay, so now I'm going to add a curves adjustment layer. And I'm just going to drop this down slightly to pull it to the right. I'm just going to pull that one down slightly. And I'm just going to pull it down there to the right as well. And we've just made a small adjustment just to the contrast. It's looking a lot better, looking a lot more vivid, I would say. So there's our background, nice and simple, nice and fast. If you followed any of my other tutorials, it's a similar style. I always say that. So now we're going to throw in our players. So I'm going to start with Philip Coutinho, Brazilian international. I'm going to put him about there. Then I'm going to put in Luis Suarez, Uruguayan international, all obviously Barcelona players. I'll be adjusting in a second. And Lionel Messi, everyone knows Lionel Messi. Probably the best player that's ever lived. And we're living through a time where we can watch him. So, some people may disagree. I just like appreciating him. Anyway, so let's position Lionel Messi. So I'm happy with that position there. So look how I did it there. Yeah, happy with that. I'm going to get Coutinho, okay, so he's just going to be just slightly up and away. Press Command T, I'm just going to make him a little bit bigger. So he's in the background. We'll hold Shift down in this corner so it can grow in proportion. Pull him out a bit. Maybe a little bit smaller. And then Luis Suarez. I'm also going to put there. So kind of want to make Messi a little bit bigger to stand out, seeing as he's the main man. So position him there. Have I got him positioned? Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, so we're going to work on them one at a time. So we'll start with Coutinho. So as you can see, I got these from footyrender.com. Again, I'll link in the description below. But you go to that website, type in the players that you want, and they'll pop up. So I'm just going to press Command J. So I'm going to got 2 layers. Filter Coutinho. I'm going to make sure I've got the one underneath highlighted. Okay, I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and I'm just going to drop the lightness down to -100. Okay, so now we've got an image underneath. It's going to be our shadow. Okay, Command T. So now I've got the image underneath. I'm going to double click. I'm going to click Distort, and I'm going to drag him down into about this location there. And I'm just going to, sometimes you just need to just give it a little adjustment for the boots and the player. Yeah. Okay, this opacity, okay, I'm going to drop down as well. So I'll try 40%. Okay, I'm going to go to Filter. Wrong, I'm going to make sure selected first. I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and roughly around 3%, 3 pixels. We'll do the same with Luis Suarez, Command J. Select the bottom layer of Luis Suarez, okay, Image, Adjustment, Hue, Saturation, Lightness, down to 100. Command T, double click, Distort, and drag him down. I'm going to drop him at a similar angle. Try that one again. Distort. A similar angle to what Coutinho was at. And there you can see it's quite dislocated from his actual body. Okay, again, drop that opacity down. Go roughly 36, I've gone straight in there. Okay, filter, okay, and you can just click Gaussian blur there. This work, it's gone quite well. And then Messi, Command J, or you can just simply drag it down onto the new layer. Make sure the bottom one is selected. Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, Lightness, -100. Command T. Distort. Drag it down. And just play around with them. Okay, 40%, filter, Gaussian blur. Now you can see we've got a little bit of cross-contamination on each one, so I'm going to go to Luis Suarez as shadow. I'm just going to click the layer mask. I'm going to hit B. I'm going to select my nice soft brush tool, make it nice and small, and depending on what you've got for the flow, just going to paint it away. If that's not working, I'll go to the messy one, add a layer mask, and just paint that away. Got white selected there. That's why it wasn't working. There you go. Just paint that away nice and simply. So we've got our three shadows in. We're also at this point now going to come down, so select the curves layer, okay, click the new layer, so it's going to be above the curves but below all the players. Make sure you've got black selected over here. Okay, what we're going to do is just going to paint some shadow just underneath the players. So I've got a soft brush, try with around 10%. Got a black selected. I'm just going to paint around their boots, just where you're going to get a little bit of extra shadow. Okay, it's just, again, just, oh, sorry, small details. There we go, so we'll call that boot shadow. Right, so now we can add some shading to the players. What you can also do to help them blend in sometimes when you cut them out is add a layer mask, okay, and just chop some of the way the boots. But with these renders, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with them. So I'll show you what I'm going to do I'll do it with Coutinho. So I'm going to click on the Philip Coutinho, and I'm going to add a gradient layer. I'm going to go to hue saturation. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's clipping mask, and I'm just going to drop it right down to about there, to about 50. And I'm going to press, because I've got it as my rear, as the back colour. Okay, I'm going to press. In fact, is it Alt back? Yeah, so Alt. So I'm working on the Mac, so I'm just going to make sure it's selected. If not, okay, just swap them over. You can press Command. So this layer is filled. So just fill that layer there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to hit the brush tool. Okay, it's a different technique to what I usually go with. Okay, I'm going to make sure I've got white selected here. And I'm just going to paint away, or paint on the shadow now. So if you watch, I'm going to press X. In fact, I'll just do it exaggerated. So I'm going to press X there. See how it paints it back on, paints the shadow, and it affects it there. So press Command Z, and you're just going to play around with your flow opacity, or just the opacity of the brush. Okay, so that's a little bit too much again. So we'll come down to about 30%. So we're just filling that there, and then we're just going to paint on the shadow. Again, I think it's far too much. So 10%. So we just want some shading, because how I'm going to do it is the light's going to be over on this side. So the light's going to be here, and all the shading is going to be on this side. This is what makes it nice and smooth now. So just see what I'm doing there. Okay, painting his shins. Okay, play around with the brush sizes. Okay, areas that are already dark in shadow, Okay, utilise them, especially those areas there like the boot on his leg. Again, sometimes it can look a little bit unnatural, but it's kind of the effect we want to be going for. Underneath his arm's there. So I'll just, before I speed it up, just show you how I'm playing with it. I'm changing the brush sizes again. Like I said, I'm rushing it quite a bit. If you see though, putting a little bit of shading in. And I'm going to put some here as well. Affect the colour. There we go. Some more painting the black on. So what we're also going to do is we're going to do some highlights. So I'm going to create a new layer. Okay, make it a clipping mask. So you just hold Alt down and hover, and that'll click there, or just double click and create a clipping mask. Okay, and I'm going to make sure I've got white selected. With this one, you want it to flow down about 3%. Okay, I'm just going to paint on some highlights. Again, if you want to exaggerate it, feel free. There we go, changing the lights now. I'm going to leave messy up. I'm just going to paint highlight there. And again, it's up to you how much you'd like to exaggerate it. Play around with the flow. Paint a little bit on here. Looks a bit too much there. But that's how I'm going to do that. And sorry, go back to the hue saturation. Okay. Just this area here, you want to make these boots nice and dark, especially these shins, just because we're going to exaggerate that darkness. Just planting that foot in the ground. So you can see Coutinho's already looking different from the other players. You see the effect we've had on him. Again, I've taken my time on the other one, okay, but I've rushed this one. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same to these players, and I'm just going to speed it up so you can see me doing that. Okay, so I've just done that quickly. Okay, I've rushed it. It looks a lot better on this image because I really did take my time, and I can't emphasize taking time enough. So just want to go back to down to Coutinho, right? And I'm going to add some curves. Okay, but I'm just going to lift those curves up a sec. Okay, just to draw those highlights out. And I'm going to do this for Suarez as well. Click on curves. Okay, each player and texture is going to be different. And line on Messi as well. No, not exposure. I like curves. There you go. Make sure they're all right. Something's gone wrong there. 1 second. That's why, because it's linked with the exposure. Delete the exposure. Not too much. Okay, if you do too much on the shading, you're not happy with it. Okay, you can just lower the opacity like I've just done there. And where's the Luis Suarez? Yeah, I've lowered it to 58 there. And Coutinho, just lowered it again. So that looks a bit better. So now I'm going to add some lighting. So I'm going to click this top layer, create a new layer. Okay, hit my brush tool. Okay, nice and big. And I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Maybe that's not enough. See what like at 15%. Okay, and we're just painting on that light. Okay, so Louis getting quite a lot there. Okay, drop it down to about 4%. Okay, I'm just painting on a little bit more light on the top, and we'll call that one light. And I'm going to do the opposite as well, but I'm going to do underneath the light. I'm going to add some darkness. So press X, make sure you've got blue selected. Okay, 4% is rough, quite good. Okay, and I'm just going to paint some shadows here. Okay, especially this grass at the front. And it just gives it a little bit more depth, and straight away you can see, just by adding that light and shadowing, how much better it looks. And now just with that, I'm pretty happy. I think it's looking a little bit better than this one. It's a little bit different, but it's still thereabouts. So yeah, quite happy with that. So I'm going to type the text. Okay, just going to make sure it's white at the top. Okay, I'm using a font called Premier League. Okay, I've got that from free fonts. Feel free to choose whatever font you want. Okay, and just with this one, I'm going with 80 point. But again, it'll be up to yourselves how much you want to use. I'm going to FC Barcelona. I'm going to drag that across. And I want it roughly in line about there. Okay, and while it's there, I'm going to drop it down below the players. Whoop. Went too far. In fact, to make things easier, what I'll do is click the top one there, and I click boot shadow there, and I press Command G, and I'll just group the players. And I'll rename that players. Yeah, so FC Barcelona is going to go underneath. Okay, I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to add a gradient overlay. Now the colours I've used, okay, I've tried to go with the colours of Messi's armband. It's Captain Armband, and also it's on the Barcelona logo if you're familiar with it, and it's the colours of Catalonia, the region where Barcelona is based. Okay, and for the light, okay, for the colour, gone for that was not the one I was using. FEA 031. FEA 031. It's very similar. And for the darker one, I'm going to go with 90A6BC. In fact, no, sorry, that's the blue sky. I'm reading my notes wrong. It's FF5729. There we go. That's better. Okay, and just with this slider here, okay, this affects who has more control. I'm just gonna drag it across slightly so it's less darker. Okay, make sure it's linear style. Okay, I've got it on a normal blend mode. Let's just play with the blend mode. Screen, no, linear. No, we'll keep it at normal. Okay, opacity 100%, angle 90, scale. I've just left it at 100%. Okay, and I'm also going to add a drop shadow. Okay, and the colour I've used there is 2C0606. 2C0606. Okay, with the drop shadow, you can see there. Okay, I've got it on normal blend mode. I've gone for an opacity of 81, and I've tried to. It's like a dark red, so it's tried to blend in with the orange. Okay, 90-degree angle. Distance, I've got it at 14, okay, but again, that's not set in stone. Just choose what you'd like. Spread 0, size 0, and we are good. And I've also gone for an inner glow, and that's inner shadow, that's wrong. Yeah, thought so. Inner glow, okay, I've gone for a yellow. FEE851, FEE851. Okay, opacity, I've put that about 29%. Okay, it just blends it in, just gives it a little bit more panache, shall we say. Make sure you got the blend mode changed to screen, because if I have it on normal, can you tell? It just looks a bit better on screen, if I remember correctly. So that's my layer style for the text. And with that, I'm also going to add another layer on top. Okay, I'm going to hit my brush tool. I'm going to choose a lighter colour. The spectrum that I was using, that looks okay. And let's just play around. I'm just going to click over here on the light. Just going to drop it there. I'm going to change the blend mode to linear dodge add. And it's not quite as strong, so I'll add another one. Go bring it up to 45. How did I do it before? Let's just check. Go to text layer. Linear dodge add. Ah, it was a reddish colour I used, that's correct. Let me just delete that. I remember now. Pretty sure, did I click one of these colours? And then linear dodge add. Yeah, it's a little bit better. I'm going to press Command T. I'm just going to resize it. Put it up there. In fact, let's just play around with that one while I'm here. So I do another layer. I'm going to bring the flow right up to 100. Click it on there, but I'm going to change the blend mode to linear dodge add. So look at that colour. Let's go to the eyedropper tool. Let's get this colour here. So we've got FB7C4E. FB7C4E. So let's just delete that. And just double check it's still the same colour. FB7C4C, yeah. Okay, brush tool. Drop it on. Linear dodge add. There we go. Looks a bit better, gives it a bit of a yellow colour. Press Command T, you can just resize it. However you see fit. So there you go, there's your thumbnail and your wallpaper. I felt like I rushed out a little bit, so what I'll do is in the comments in the description below, I'll type it out as well. How I created this image, but I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, it's quite a rush one because it's quite a big tutorial. But again, it's just simple techniques. If you know your way around Photoshop, again, it's not too difficult. If you're new to Photoshop, alright, I've got quite a few tutorials that are beginner level, and we kind of cover the same things, but each time I'm slowly progressing and adding more. And I just like to find sports photos that sports images, sorry, and designs. Just break them down and give tutorials on them, because there's lots of good work out there, and people want to recreate or do their own stuff in their own style with their own sports team. Okay, so yeah, that's how I want to help people. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, I really appreciate you liking, sharing, subscribing, really encourages me to keep giving out these tutorials, because I absolutely love doing them. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time.